All right, welcome, and I'm Dr. J.P. Stearns, more importantly for us, president of the Bluegrass Area Institute of Management Accountants, and I'm here with Roger Ward, professor of philosophy at Goergetown College, not Georgetown University, Georgetown College, and he's going to be presenting at our November virtual chapter meeting, making a presentation on business ethics. And he's presented on this topic for us for a few times now, and he always has, well, Roger, you're here, but Roger, you always have an interesting take on this, so I just wanted to give our members and prospective attendees kind of a teaser, if we will, about what to expect here in a couple weeks.
Sure, thanks. I'm glad to do it. Yeah, I always enjoy coming and talking to professionals in the field. I teach business ethics at the college, have done so since 1996. And as everyone who's been in business or interested in ethical practice realizes, things have changed rather dramatically since 1996, and especially since just this last March. So what I thought we would think about in the session coming up in November is to look at ethics through the lens of past, present, and future. So one way of thinking about ethics is how we're prepared to act, what kind of ends appear good, and then the means to achieve those ends can be evaluated whether they're good or bad. So one way of thinking about our present situation includes thinking about past and then future. And so I thought it'd be interesting just to kind of run through some of the historical landmarks of ethics in business, and the ethics of business go back to the very beginnings of business. One of the first kind of international financial organizations, the Medici Bank, in the 1600s, collapsed due to fraud. So that's an interesting little bit of history. And then the real beginning of capitalism in terms of a multi-owned institution, the Dutch East India Company, founded in, I think, 1602. Again, worked for 200 years and collapsed in 1800, again, because of fraud.
I'm seeing a pattern here.
The Barings Bank. Some of you remember the Barings Bank, I think from the 90s. It was a worldwide huge bank, and it collapsed under the misguided trading of one person. One guy making derivative trade deals kind of way overstepped his liquidity restrictions and put the bank in the liability of too much money and collapsed the bank. So I thought, just looking at a couple of these, past experiences would help us kind of think about our present time, because we all don't want to be that person who collapses our organization. And then to think about something like the present condition of COVID and the kinds of ethical barriers that have just emerged in the matter of a week or a month. And like our school here at Georgetown, we had to decide, in the space of just a few weeks, whether it was moral to bring students back to campus. And so there's a whole new rank of ethical challenges that simply appear because of the present conditions. And so I wanted to talk through and get some feedback from you all, because I'm also teaching a class right now. And it would be helpful for me to get some of your perspectives about how your companies are dealing with the emergent ethical concerns related to COVID that I can share then with my students. And then, to get that other fix on where we're going, what the future of ethical practice may be. In order to really have deliberation, we have to be able to choose our actions. And a lot of that works from being able to anticipate the kinds of questions we'll need to answer. So ethics isn't just about resolving the problem that you're meeting today, but understanding the kind of ethical question you may meet in the future so that you can feel either prepared or be able to kind of retrench the ground necessary in order to be in a position to make good ethical choices going forward. So that's kind of the framework I have been thinking about: past, the present, the future, how ethical deliberation emerges in business at all three of these kinds of levels, and then to kind of have a conversation related to those topics.
Interesting. And so it's kind of like, seems as you go through that things change a lot, but then also a lot of things don't change. We have a lot of the same challenges going back hundreds of years. Same risks, same pressures.
I showed a video just last week of Cynthia Cooper, who was the internal auditor for WorldCom.
She actually spoke here a year or two ago.
Pardon?
We actually had her on
we
campus.
talked about her a year or two ago. And I love that phrase she has. She said, "No one goes to work on a Monday thinking, today I'm going to commit a crime." But somehow people did.
Yeah, and I do think it's immensely helpful as we think about the past. What I always tell my students when we're talking about cost managerial accounting, where we do a lot of estimation, and so a lot of our ethical decisions are on us, and they're in that sort of gray area that these may seem reasonable, but do I use my best estimate, or do I kind of bend to some pressures to, but you can't make that decision in the moment.
That's right.
You've got to have thought through where you're going to be, how you're going to address these pressures beforehand, because in the moment it's much easier just to bend to the pressure.
Exactly.
And right. So I think having this kind of discussion and looking through where business has been, where we're at, where we're going, be a great discussion. So,
hope so.
Thank you, and I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Yep.
Right.
We will see everybody on Zoom in a couple of weeks, right?
Yep. It's second Thursday of November.
Second Thursday.